Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you learn how to become financially independent, live the dream life, quit that JOB, that just over broke job, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. Today, I am super excited to bring on an investor who just from listening to this podcast have learned enough to buy his first rental property, to actively become an investor just by listening to the podcast. It's super phenomenal. He's going to show us how he did it and how you can too. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here is your host, Dustin Heiner.
Hey, what's going on? Super excited to have you here on the show with me. And you know what's kind of fun is, that's actually not kind of fun. It's actually really fun for me because RubeCon is literally like 2 weeks away. And as I'm recording this, it's exciting to see all this stuff to come together. And with that, I love having this podcast. I love coming every single week and you coming back every single week, listening to the show and what it's been doing in people's life. Now, what I was going to say about RubeCon was what's really fun is at RubeCon, I'm actually going to do a live podcast recording of 5 of us podcasters. In fact, I've got friends, and you guys know, I've already told you that I have other investor friends that have their own podcasts, YouTube channels, and all that good stuff. And with that, we're bringing us all together for RubeCon to be teaching and coaching and all that sort of stuff. So we have 45 speakers, investors, expert investors that have their own audience and stuff. But what we're doing is I'm literally going to have us 5 podcasters on the stage. And with that, we're going to be talking about the economy. We're going to be talking about how to protect yourself with the recession, how to utilize these interest rates for our benefit, how to make sure we're not going to be hurt with anything that happens like in 2006, 7, and 8, as everything was running up. I made more money when the crash happened, and I want everybody to listen to that. So we're going to record it at RubeCon. We're going to release it here on the channel on the Master Passive Income Show. Now, what I love on top of that is this is a way that I can literally give out information and share with people how to change their life. In fact, I'll be completely honest and say that about 90% of the people that come and work with me at Master Passive Income and the coaches that we have and, get everything that we have from coaching to courses and come to the conference, it's because of the podcast. It's because of listening to the podcast, week in and week out. And I am able to bring on somebody who listened to this podcast, reach out to me, and it's happened before. I just never thought to bring him on. This happened where he reached out to me. This gentleman reached out to me. I think reached out to me maybe on Instagram, if I remember correctly, or email. I can't remember. But yeah, if you want to find me on Instagram, go to the Dustin Heiner at Instagram. And I'm not that arrogant. It's the only handle I could find. THE Dustin Heiner. With that, he reached out and said, I invest in real estate just from listening to your podcast. I was like, no way. This is awesome. Let's get you on the show, because what it really comes down to, regular everyday people just like you and me listening to this podcast. I mean, like your next door neighbor or somebody that goes to be at the church that, and I honestly literally have people from my church that want to learn. They came in and they joined the membership that I have where I give the coaching and courses and all that sort of stuff. And they're in that because they are wanting to grow as well. I'm just a normal everyday people, just like you are. My guest that I'm bringing on today, who literally just from listening to the podcast, I think he said he started from the very beginning. You'll hear him what he talks about. But he started from the very beginning, listened through every single one of them. That gave them the encouragement, number 1, but also number 2, the knowledge and the ability to really move forward. And he bought his first property. He's doing a fantastic job. And you'll hear how well he's doing. He's going to keep growing and eventually become a full-time real estate investor, which is super awesome for him. But I want you to hear this because, like I said, you can do this. And we're honestly entering the best time ever to invest in real estate. And that is absolutely something that you must start doing. If you haven't come to RubeCon, definitely you can come to RubeCon. I want you to be here with us. And I'm completely inviting you. Get 10% off your pass. Use a promo code podcast. Come hang out with us. It's in 2 weeks. But if you listen to this in the future, We're literally going to be doing RubeCon every single year. It's an annual conference. This next year, we might be in St. Louis. It seems like St. Louis might be the next place. And now let's jump into today's show where I interview Ben Colangelo, who is a podcast listener of Master Passive Income and has done a fantastic job now investing in real estate just from the podcast. All right, here we go. Benjamin Colangelo, thank you so much for being on the show, Ben.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on the show.
Man, this is so cool. And so I get people reaching out to me. I have like an Instagram. It's the Dustin Heiner is what I have for my Instagram. And I get people reaching out to me, DMing me, telling me their wins, their successes and everything, which is so cool. And you reached out to me and you said that, just by listening to the podcast, you got the encouragement and then you went to buy properties and you have 2 properties now. And what really struck me was you're 22 years old, which I'm so excited. I started when I was 27. So I wish I would have started 5 years earlier. I would have been able to quit 5 years earlier. But before we get into all that, because we're definitely going to jump into that, what got you started? What got you to want to invest in real estate and maybe change your life as opposed to, going that career route that most people do?
Yeah, so I grew up, in a blue collar family. My dad is a contractor. So I definitely saw, people like working hard their entire life and kind of just looking around at everyone. Everyone told me, you have to save for retirement. You have to save for retirement. And myself, I started a landscaping company when I was, very young. So I kind of knew that I was going to be self-employed my entire life. And, with that, you're not going to have a pension or a 401k. So I, kind of started. When I got to about 20 years old, I was like, I need to find something that's gonna, fuel that retirement when I'm older. So I decided to go into the investment properties actually. So kind of started poking my head around in it for about a year and a half. I didn't jump right into anything. And, kind of definitely had to wait for the right property. Like you say, you don't want to just jump into something just to buy it. So that was kind of my motivation for it, was to get a property that, in 20 years will be paid for and, I could sell it and have money for retirement or keep creating passive income.
Love it. And creating that passive income is what, helps us to feed our families and everything and, afford to do things in our lives. Now, how did you find the podcast? And because I really wanted to interview you and ask you about the process of listening to the podcast and then really getting the courage to do that and also having the tools to do it. So talk to me about how did you find the podcast and then talk to me about the process in listening to eventually getting your first property.
Yeah, so I had kind of been poking around. I read a book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure you've heard of it. And then that kind of, fed the fire under my belly. And then I started just typing into Spotify, like real estate podcasts. And I ended up stumbling on your podcast and I started reading it, did a little research on the website. And it kind of, like I had kind of said before, I had just listened to your podcast. I didn't, purchase any of the classes on the website, but it did help me, like you say, to find a good mentor. And I found somebody who it's a family friend of mine that I didn't even really understand what he did at first. And he has, I think, 20 something doors that he rents out. So I started asking him the questions that, that you kind of need to get going. And it ended up leading me to buy my first property.
Having somebody to walk you through it. Now you can do yourself. It's rather difficult and it takes a lot longer. You're going to have a lot of bumps and bruises along the way and potentially lose a lot of money. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars doing it the wrong way, but then I figured out, okay, that didn't work. Let me not do that. But how much better is finding somebody like, let's say you have a family member that invests, like grab onto them. Like, hey, I would love to help you. And here's my suggestion. Help them in their business so you can learn. And you could also at the same time be picking their brain or, just be educated by them. And by you doing deals with them or being a part of their business, you're going to just by osmosis, just literally be in there. You're literally going to be getting firsthand education. So I think that is phenomenal. So talk to me about being younger and, you're 22 years old now. You have 2 properties. You just closed recently on another one. And talking about being younger, was it scary? Because I do get students that are 17, 18, and 19 years old, and helping them, they once they start, coming for coaching, joining the membership or anything like that, they already know that they want to do it. Like they're already driven, which I'm like, that helps. Because if you're not driven, it's going to be really, really hard. But they're already driven. And then once we build the business and then we find the right properties, start making cash flow on it, we check it out, make sure we can make cash flow. We just buy it and then it works for us. Talk to us about being younger and any hurdles that you had to get through or any mindset shifts that you had to change. Now, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a fantastic way to start. So if anybody hasn't read that, great book, definitely do that. But talk to us about starting younger.
Yeah, so I do want to just clarify, my property it's a two family. I don't have two properties. But yeah, so I started, I've always been really interested in real estate. Ever since I was a young kid, my dad had built a real estate development when I was a kid, so I got really exposed to that. And kind of like you say, just over broke job. Like I work really hard for my money. I do masonry work and whatever it takes to make that buck. So it's like, like I said, like when I'm older, I don't want to necessarily be doing that hard work anymore. So that really was the fuel to my fire. And being self-employed is another really hard thing. Like I can't even tell you how stressful it was trying to get a mortgage when you're self-employed because, banks don't want to believe in you as much as if you have a 9-to-5 job.
When you have that guaranteed, quote unquote guaranteed, the banks think it's guaranteed. Hey, they've been working for 2 years. It doesn't look like they're going to stop anytime soon. That's money that they are guaranteeing in a sense, or you are saying, I'm going to keep making money to pay off that mortgage. Yeah, I 100% agree with that because when students are about ready to quit their job, I say, get as many loans as you can right now, because once you quit your job, it's going to take at least 1 to 2 years before you're going to be able to use your credit again. Now, there's other ways from commercial loans to DSCR loans, debt service coverage ratio loans. I could teach my students how to do that. There's a lot of ways outside of getting your own mortgage on your own credit, but it's so much easier if you just get your own credit. So that's a great step. Now, talk to us about this first property. Where is it at? What was the process of buying it? If you don't mind sharing how much you bought it for and what the passive income is like.
Yeah, so I just closed on it about a month ago. It's in Massachusetts, actually. I was looking in the Midwest, like you've kind of preached on your podcast a little bit, just because there's definitely some really good deals to be had in the Midwest. But I found a property my property is very interesting. It's a two-family, but it's also in a mixed use zoning. So I can run there's two separate structures on the property and you wouldn't even know that they're connected. They're on two separate streets. It's very interesting, but I can run my commercial landscaping business out of the bottom of it. So I was looking into actually renting a shop, if you will, call it that, for my business, and it was going to be about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. So I was like, that's a down payment right there that I'm just going to waste in a year on a house. So I found this property. It was listed for, I think it was $450,000 originally, and it had been on the market for a while. It's like I said, it's kind of an oddball property, but the HUD fair market value rents are $3,540 for the house, which is a 4-bedroom. So it's getting really good rent. I ended up offering them $350,000 on the house, and they originally said no. Can you go to 375? I said I'm holding at 350,000, and they ended up doing the deal. I could not believe it. I was so excited.
That's amazing. So recap. So I want you to keep going, but recap. So they were originally asking what, and then you got it for 350.
They were originally asking 450,000. They had lowered it down to 395 after it had been on for about a month. And one of the partners in the LLC had passed away, so they just, I think, wanted to get rid of it. So they had been using it as a rental property previously. So the house was kind of set up perfectly for a rental already. I just did like some minor painting and whatnot. And then the other building works perfectly as I kind of did the home hack, like you've said before. So I'm going to be living in the unit above for a year until I buy another house, which I'm already on the look for. Um, and then using the unit below that, which is the commercial unit for my business.
That is awesome, man. And you're getting so much use out of it and having somebody else hopefully be able to pay your mortgage. It doesn't seem hopefully, but you should. Like, it's really, really awesome. And I love how you negotiated. Is negotiating anything? Is that hard for you? Is that easy for you? Because I'll give you an example. My wife hates negotiating. She'll gladly pay more than have to negotiate. I'm like, stop it, babe. You're wasting money. Let's negotiate. Let's get that price down. I love negotiating. In fact, one of my favorite things to do with my students is literally tell them, well, I'm the third party. I'm seeing both the seller and the buyer. This is what I would offer if I were in your shoes, because I'm not emotionally attached to it. They are. Oh, it's a deal. I want to get my first one, my eighth one, or whatever it might be. Like, let's not get emotionally attached. This is the wise step to do. So talk to me about the negotiating process. Was that easy, hard, and any wisdom you had in that?
Yeah, so I've always been a shrewd negotiator, you could say. I've honestly, how I got like my down payment for my house was basically like,
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. My new goal in my life, my first goal was to quit my job in 10 years, and I did that, accomplished that at 37. Now my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So two things I would ask from you. Number one, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin, Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number one. Number two, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual, normal, everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets.
buying and selling items. I've always been like really into, trying to make a profit on things. So that's how, for me, I know playing hardball works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the seller situation and the realtors. I'm lucky to have a really good realtor in my area that, helped me out a lot. But yeah, so I think my mortgage on the house is $2,060 a month. So I have $1,500 for, expenses and utilities. So there's definitely a decent amount of money. I've calculated I should be making about $350 to $400 a month on it. So definitely.
On top of that, you're living in rent free or mortgage free, and you have a place for your business as well. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So I have a rent free house that I'm living in, and my business, which, like I said, I was going to be paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month for the 2-bay garage that I'm getting for free.
Oh man, that is so exciting. And let's say, you saw it, they were originally asking $450, you bought it for around $350. That's $100,000 in equity that, or just as you bought it lower than it's worth. You could have spent that much money, but you didn't. If they lowered the price $399, you got to $350 or $395. $350 is a fantastic deal, and you're making a passive income, and you're not paying for your own rent or mortgage, and you got a place for your shop. I mean, that's just a win, 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 win all over top. Now, talk to me about the finding and financing. Was that hard? Was it something that you thought, man, it would have been better if I did this or that? Like, talk about the finding and the financing portion of it.
Yeah, so just like some of the other people I know you've had on the podcast, I love just waking up in the morning, having my coffee and looking at Zillow just to see, all the properties on there. It's so interesting to me when I get like the emails of price changes and whatnot. So I kind of stalk those in a way. to kind of see. I mean, I can't tell you how many offers I put in on houses right now with the market being so high. It was like, you really do not want to overpay just because the market's inflated. So that was something that I'm like, I'll put these offers in on the houses. If I get them, I get them. If not, I can't be upset about it. It was a blessing in disguise, really. So yeah, getting the mortgage was very stressful, especially right now. The interest rates are so high, but I was lucky. I did get, because I'm occupying one of the units. I did get that good first time home buyer act kind of loan. I ended up getting 3.99%, which I was really happy with right now. Which is, because everywhere else I was getting, 6-7%. So I'm
How did
saving
you,
some
okay, I
money.
got to ask, how did you get that 3.99? Like that's right now, like you said, it's usually 6, maybe even 7 or 8%.
I had just called around on a bunch of different mortgage lending groups. The company I'm using is Hometown Mortgage. They do it in-house. They actually keep the mortgage. They don't sell it. Which is why I think they actually just got rid of the program as I closed on the house because of how high the interest rates are going. It was so stressful because I thought originally I was going to be able to put 5% down, and I was so excited. I was like, wow, I can get, I can save all this money for some of the renovations that I wanted to do to the property. And it ended up going up to 14%, but it all worked out in the end. I got the property. I still got a great deal on it, so I can't be upset about having to put a little more down. And it did end up lowering my payment a little bit, which, is good in the long run.
Well, I mean, and getting 3.99%, I mean, it is terrific interest rate. I mean, overall, you're going to be paying so much less. I mean, now that the interest rates, I don't think they're going to come down anytime soon. And, talk to me a little bit about what I always try to share with people that right now we're entering one of the best times ever to invest in real estate. And on top of that, we need to be ready to invest. We can't just say like, all of a sudden it's great time to invest in real estate and just start investing, not knowing what to invest in, not knowing how to invest, not knowing where, not having the context, not having all this stuff. It seems like you were obviously with listening to having a mentor, like you prepared in advance, and now you were able to jump on a property, able to get a really good interest rate, got $100,000 off the asking price. Like it didn't just fall in your lap, but you've been working towards this. Talk to us about how we need to be prepared and start doing work now so that when opportunities come, we can jump on them. Because there's a quote that I think it's something like, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I'm basically more lucky the more prepared I am, in a sense. Like the more prepared I am, the more I work at it, practice, and get everybody. Then you can call me lucky, but I've worked my tail off to get as lucky as I am.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. Especially right now, there are so many good deals out there. It's crazy. The prices are starting to come down. I mean, I I wish I had like, a couple $1 million to play with right now because I'd be buying, buying, buying. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, I'm 22 years old, so it's the finances aren't completely there, but I'm hoping, within probably 6 to 8 months I can, buy another property and keep building. But I think within the next year, if you can be as liquid as possible, just ready to pounce on something, make sure you have, a pre-approved approval for a mortgage ready to go. So that way, when that first property comes up, you can just jump on it and be like, hey, I have everything I need. I'm a great candidate to buy the house. And, another thing that I know you mentioned is, live within your means. Do not, I live through, you could say I live frugally. I mean, I don't have a fancy car or anything like that. I pulled up to my rental property on the day I closed of it in a, $500 car that I've been driving for 3 years, and I'm like, this is what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I'll buy the fancy car down the line when I've made it.
100%. Absolutely. And now, well, it's also like if that's a goal of yours, absolutely. Like I'm not a big car guy. I have money to buy a car, but we still have one car. It's a SUV. It gets us to and from. I invest in more properties. In fact, that's what apparently I'm a collector of properties. I love doing that. Now, talk to me about As you are finding this property and you want to make sure you have passive income on it and you're structuring everything, was it hard to get past the due diligence stage? Because a lot of people, they get stuck in, it's called analysis paralysis. There's so many numbers, or they're looking at so many properties. Was that hard for you? Did that come up, or was it like, man, this is a great opportunity, I see it, let me jump on it?
Yeah, so I didn't I never bought the green light calculator, but if you don't have somebody, so fortunately enough, my mentor had made one pretty much the same. So I had been using that to figure out my properties, and it only takes 10-15 minutes. If you don't have that, like, I don't even know how you would analyze a property, honestly. So that is such a key thing to have. Is for you, it's the green light, calculator. That I would look through a property and I can quickly look at my Excel document and basically see, I can make X amount of dollars on this property a year. I'm cash flowing this per month. So that's the biggest thing. So I can take any property that I see on Zillow, find the taxes, put it in, and then it's so fast to just understand that this could be a property that I want to look into more. And so when I looked at the property that I ended up actually purchasing, I put it in with a few different sale prices to see what the maximum I could pay for it would be. And then I ended up actually going to the property because it's only about 25 minutes from where I live, or was living. So it's now, I went there, I, looked over the whole property. Luckily for my family being in the general contracting business, I kind of know what I'm looking at on a house. But if if it was somewhere in the Midwest, I would 100% have a home inspection done to see, what I'm going to have to put into this property to make it a good rentable unit.
Absolutely. And making sure that you are going to be making passive income. If you don't make passive income on your property, it's going to eat you up eventually. So I'm really glad you're moving forward on that. Now, what's the goal for you? Is it to eventually have enough properties to where you're successful and employed and you don't have to do your business anymore? Is it to free up your time? What's your goal for real estate investing?
So my goal is, I'd ideally like to be retired by 45, 50. Because the way I look at it is, I'd like to have 10 to 15 properties by the time I'm 30 years old, which is in 8 years. So that would be, considering if I buy a few 2 to 3 family houses, I'm hoping to have like anywhere from 15 to 20 doors that I'll be renting out. And then I'll have, I'm one of those people that, I don't really like to sit still. So not sure if being completely unemployed will be my end goal, or if it will just be managing the properties and kind of doing my landscaping business as more of a hobby than a job. So yeah, I'd like to, the way I look at it is, if I can have all these properties purchased by the time I'm 30, if I make a couple extra mortgage payments on them a year, pending if I'm making good passive income on them, I can have them all paid off by the time I'm 54. And then I will, kind of be retired at that point and just be collecting the check, a much bigger check, because I won't have the mortgage on it to carry.
Absolutely. And the rate that you're going, it seems like you're going to move even faster. I mean, you're younger and what's the first one's always the hardest. Getting the second one's not nearly as hard. And then branching out to other areas of the country, if that's what you want to do, it's not nearly as hard, because the newness of it, or the risk and scare factor of like, oh, I'm afraid of what's going to happen, that's gone because you have a framework of what you need to do. So what would you say are the lessons that you've learned throughout this process? Anything that you've experienced, like, oh man, this happened, don't do this, or what lessons can you share with us?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say, like you said, that first property is so hard to get. I mean, I was so nervous, especially I'm still a full-time college student. So I was like thinking about this. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I can't get this rented, I'm going to be carrying a, $2,100 a month payment for how long? But, I was kind of eased in the mind by looking at like how high the rental demand is in the specific town that I purchased in. So I'm like, I know I figured, between all the renovations that I need to do. It's nothing major, but I just want to, update the house a little bit. That way I won't have any problems with it down the line. That's another thing too. That's a huge lesson is that if you're going to do repairs on your rental property, just do them the right way. That way you don't have to deal with it down the line. Shoddy work doesn't go far. So when I did purchase the property, I, was sitting there and I'm like, wow, if I can get this done in probably 3 to 4 months, I know I can carry it for that long. It gives me a little bit of time conservation as well. So if it does, I think I can probably do it in less time, but that was, conservative just in case, another thing right there is that whenever you're doing your calculations on your property, you want to make sure that you're not inflating the numbers because you're so excited about buying the property. You want, I went several $100s less on the rent, maybe a little more on utilities. That way I know that I'm going to make money on it for sure. It's not, like you said before, you don't have to be a genius to do investment properties. It's not really that hard. You just need to, take a little common sense and make sure that you're conservative on things. And, the house doesn't need granite countertops. It's, whatever is, more affordable is fine. It's, chances are you'll be replacing it anyway if it gets broken or whatnot. So when I purchased a property, I knew I could do the renovations, and then I should be able to have it rented by hopefully middle to end of summer.
That sounds terrific. And like you said, I mean, you almost have like 3 units in a sense, where you have your property that you're going to be living, or the unit that you're going to be living in. You have the unit that a tenant's going to be living in, and you also have a 2-bay garage that you're going to be able to utilize for your business. I mean, that's 3 altogether. And imagine if you rent it out to a different company. That's a whole other function of your property that you have. You could, let's say you find your landscaping company's getting business, or, it's getting bigger, or you're saying, you know what, I'm going to sell it to somebody else. You could rent out that thing at just the same. So that is super phenomenal, Ben. And you also have a TikTok channel that you've been sharing this stuff out, or sharing more stuff about everything you're doing. Do you want to share that with everybody?
Yeah. So my TikTok it's the Dirt Surgeon 508 and 508, Dirt Surgeon 508. And it's kind of about my daily life as a owner operator in the landscape industry. And I'm going to be starting a new series on refurbing the house, and kind of talking a little bit about my journey as a young entrepreneur and getting into the investment properties.
I love it, man. And so I'm not on TikTok, but everybody, if you're on TikTok, definitely got to check out what Ben's doing. And you'll get to see that, honestly, everybody can do this. Regular, everyday people can do this. Like your next door neighbor can do this. You can do this. Anybody can. It's really, really simple. Like Ben was saying, as long as you make sure you do the right things, you're going to be totally fine. But Ben, it's been so fantastic getting to meet you. Also having you be a part of the podcast too, and seeing your success. And it's great to have you. Are you coming to RubeCon? I didn't ask that.
Probably not this year. I'm going to be really busy finishing up my final year at school, but hopefully I'm shooting for the next one.
Awesome. And next year, it seems like this year it's in Phoenix. Next year, 2024, it might be like St. Louis, maybe North Carolina and Charlotte. So I'm got a couple places a little closer to you. So that'll be great to have you and hang out with you there too. But man, Ben, this is great. So excited to have you on the show. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Great. Thank you for having me.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching, get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.